Hello! Welcome to the Vandal Factory podcast. My name is Henry Raby. If you're new to joining us, then welcome, my dear little raptors. This is a podcast where we talk about arts and activism. This is a Factory Floor Cuts episode, which is like a tiny mini episode where we get to focus on one specific event or one specific guest. In this case, it's three guests. It's members of Slash Fiction, who are a South Yorkshire powerhouse punk band. They're talking about their latest album, We'll Hold This Line Until Hell Freezes Over. Before we crack on with the chat, if you're new to us, please, we're a DIY outfit. It's just me and co-host Natalie Quatermass. We don't get any financial support for this or anything like that. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Please give us a 5-star review if you enjoy it. Please tell your friends, share on social media, find us on social media, become part of the Vandal Factory crew. It really does help and we massively appreciate it. If you also like your punk chats and your punk interviews and your punk vibes, your little punks, we recommend episode 7 of the VF podcast, where we interviewed Petrol Girls. Episode 11 features Nathy from Onsind, Martha and Lil Nathy, who is referenced in this chat with Slash Fiction. We also bring up CJ from Black Lodge Press, who was the focus of episode 16. And finally, more recently, episode 24 was recorded live at Manchester Punk Festival. We're just going to crack on. We're going to play a bit of a track from Slash Fiction's new album. This is a song called We'll Hold This Line.
I need a reason to be here. Something I can leave behind. And if it's you and me and all of us together, then I can be proud of that.
Hello, Slash Fiction. Can you go round the circle and introduce yourself and tell us your role in the band, and also what's the best part of being in Slash Fiction?
I'll go first. My name's Niamh. I play bass and sing and manage Slash Fiction. The best part of being in Slash Fiction, oh god, that's hard. There's good part. No, it's getting to make music I love and putting it out in the world and playing shows.
Hi, I'm Dan. I play guitar. I also sing. The best part of being in Slash Fiction is that we are all best friends and we all deeply care for each other, and making music with your best pals is really fun and really fulfilling.
That's way better than what I said.
I am Jess and I play keys and sing. And I think my favorite part of it is probably just like a mix of those two answers, to be honest, like getting to make stuff and like feeling really fulfilled of the idea of like being creative, but also doing it with people that you love and trust.
Say you're walking down the street, or you're in the supermarket, or you're in the internment camp for rebels in a dystopian future, and you say to someone, "Oh, I'm in a band," and they go, "Oh, what's your band like? What's the sound?" How would you describe the sound of Slash Fiction?
Who wants to have a go at this one?
We get asked this
We
a lot
love
and
this.
we
I
all
love
hate
this
it.
question. Yeah.
We all absolutely hate this question because it's the kind of question that you get asked by people at work when you say you're in a band, and they say, "What's your band sound like?" And you say, "You're an emo band or a rock band or whatever it is." Punk
And they go
band."
like the Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
I would say we are a emo influenced punk band is
Yeah.
how I would describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. I always tend to just go for punk because that's the kind of
Yeah.
Yeah, a
That's
lot of
the-
the time
that's-
when I think of this, and the more time I spend thinking, the more I'm like, people should just say they're in a punk band. Is like the simplest and easiest way to describe it.
Yeah, I came from a sort of punk background when I was getting into music as a teenager, and I think that's where my kind of musical roots all come from. And I think people get really bogged down with these little kind of micro genre differences. And I think most of the time it just boils down to like punk for me.
I also like to say punk because I feel like it has the like ethos behind it as well. Like I feel
Yes.
like emo doesn't quite encompass everything about like how we also like to like be a band in terms of outside of just the music. So like DIY is also a good one, because we quite literally do it all ourselves.
I'm reading a book at the moment about punk anarchism as a culture of resistance because I'm that kind of guy. And there's lots of conversations in it around do it yourself, but also like do it ourselves or do it with others or do it as a community. What are those that punk ethos for you that I suppose bubbles away underneath the music and the fashion and the gig goingness? What is it for you about DIY-ness that matters?
I think that you're saying like doing it ourselves is like where it really comes from for me because you don't literally do everything yourself, but when we need a shirt designed, we'll use a queer artist that we know. Or when we're booking gigs, we'll book other DIY bands and you build that sense of community. And I think that's what DIY is to me. It's about all of us lifting each other up and getting away from the idea that music's ever like a competition. So yeah, I love that idea of it. We do a lot ourselves, but we aren't alone. Like we have a lot of people that help us, and I think it's about building those relationships and how you treat those people.
Always kind of sharing knowledge and stuff like that as well. I feel like sometimes when like the way that I guess capitalism makes you think about being a creative is that you have to like keep everything secret and you can't ever tell anybody how you did anything or like how to do things because otherwise they might overtake you or whatever. But I feel like loads of people that we know who are in bands who are like, in any measurable sense more successful than us, but they've always been really helpful to us and told us exactly how they did everything. And, I think we've tried to do that for other people as well, like just keeping not ever keeping anything a secret.
Yeah, it's demystifying.
And I think we know so many people who have so many different skills and talents, and whether it's like recording or like production or graphic design or songwriting or an instrument or whatever, and people will just share that with each other rather than kind of hoarding it to themselves. And I think that's really cool. It's like Trumpet Tom, who's just someone that we know from the DIY like community. Who, if anyone needs a trumpet playing on their song, you just call it Trumpet Tom and he'll just do it. And we've got trumpet on our record because we just said, "Do you want to play trumpet on a song?" And he was like, "Yeah." That's really cool.
Well, what a lovely segue, Dan, into talking about the record, which came out very recently and is called "We'll Hold the Line Until Hell Freezes Over." I think, correct?
We'll hold this line until hell freezes over. Close.
I might just do that take again. I swear I have
no
listened to
worries.
the album, which is called "We'll Hold the Line." Anyway. Well, okay. So my question is a nice, obvious one. Can you tell us about that phrase? And obviously, it's embedded within the lyrics and the album artwork. So why is that phrase what you've grabbed and used for this second album?
So this came from not this winter just gone, but the winter before. So it was just before Christmas. I was on the picket line. I was striking at a previous job that I was at. In the sort of 6 months maybe leading up to that strike, we were planning, we were kind of preparing for it. There was a lot of kind of organizing going on. And I found that whole sort of process really kind of energizing, and I was really getting enthusiastic about it. While at the same time, it was kind of deeply scary to kind of be faced with this, loss of income and the whole thing that was going on. But I was just kind of reading a lot into the sort of history of trade unions and industrial action, and kind of following activists online and stuff, and just getting really inspired by it. And then that actual phrase, "We'll hold this line until hell freezes over," I saw it on a tweet from an account called Dripped Out Trade Unionists.
I was really hoping that you'd mention it.
Which is the funniest place it could have come from. But it was just a photo of a sort of Great Depression era picket line, and that phrase just it just grabbed me. I thought that's cool as hell. That's just like the hardest phrase. I love that. That sort of became a song, and then it became the artwork of the record. And then I think once we had those sort of ideas down, like all of these other ideas that we had floating about just started to sort of come together into this idea that it's a record about solidarity, but solidarity going beyond just, industrial action, but solidarity in all aspects of our lives as human beings, as trans people in the band, as people with queer identities, solidarity with Palestinians, with immigrants, with like whoever it might be. It's just like that feeling that no one is going to come and help us, like that we can't trust anyone in government. We just have to look after ourselves and hold each other up, and that's the only way that we will survive. I think that was the thread that kind of runs through this record.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot when listening to it over the last couple of weeks about what lines mean. I was thinking a lot about how there's pickets at the moment against bands playing festivals that are sponsored by Barclays, or literature festivals that are sponsored by Bailey Gifford, and this idea of going, this is the line, actually, like this is where we're not going to cross over this, as well as sort of also thinking about, as someone that likes to think themselves of an anarchist, about how like I am against borders, and I am against binaries, and I am against lines on a map, and thinking about where lines of compromise come. And I think what's really lovely about the record is there's lots of like I'm going to say like playful interactions of these ideas of sharing, of community, of solidarity, like throughout. On the Vandal Factory podcast, we talk a lot about hope and anger as a duality. And I think listening to the record, there's a duality of joy and anxiety. And I think that comes across really strong in 3 tracks back to back: Golden Hour, Root and a Fifth, and Catastrophizing, where there is joy and hope and love, and then goes into a sort of like, the mental health, the anxiety of the world, and the self within the world. So I just wanted to ask about that duality, and when we stray over those lines, or we sort of meet a barrier in our lives in the songs.
I feel like, so the way that we write is that one of the 3 of us will write lyric, or one of me and Niamh will write lyrics, and then we send lyrics to Dan, and then Dan also writes his own songs, but it's a slightly different process obviously for him, but Dan writes all the music. So the songs that I've written for the album I feel like are more personal and are less they're more, each of the 3 songs that I wrote are specifically about a person in my life. And I really like to see those songs as, like you said, kind of like the moments of hope and like really personal, specific connection against the kind of broader, like more anthemic kind of songs that Niamh and Dan wrote. And Golden Hour specifically is, to me, like a song about like love and friendship and joy, and also about how like things can change, but you should still move with them, and you can like still hold on to those things as things change in your life and around you, but you can still hold on to those connections.
Stretched our legs out in the sun. It was only
is a song that I wrote about my nephew, and that song for me is like so much about this thing of having so much anxiety of what the world is going to look like when he grows up, and but like just really hoping that like you can love somebody enough that they'll be okay, kind of thing. And so that's a song for me where I feel that duality that you said about like that anxiety, but also that real moment of hope.
And I'm scared for the world that you'll live in. So make sure you tie your shoes tight. You'll never know when you might need to run. But I'll be beside you.
I always try because I feel like I personally have a tendency to like get really down in the dumps with my lyric writing sometimes. Like I would say I write the most miserable like lyrics of the three of us, but I always try and find that like bit of optimism and hope in there because I think that's really important, and that's how I want to view the world. So, I think Root and Fifth is about obviously my insecurities as a musician and how I feel moving through the music scene a lot of the time. But, at the end, I'm like, well, I might be all right. Like, I think that's that duality that you were talking about.
I play a chord and all my thoughts are laid out in front of me. Every time I fuck up a harmony, and every bass line's just a root and a fifth.
Yeah, catastrophizing is that one came together around that time that I was on strike and on the picket line. Just, full of anxiety about the state of the world and the state of my own life. But I think the line in that song is basically like if all it takes for me to feel better is to play a gig in a basement with my friends and have a kind of red stripe, then things aren't all that bad. And I think that's the kind of place that I was in when I was writing that song, is that like things are shit, things are really tough, but my friends are here, I've got my band, I'm playing cool shows with people I love. You can either sink into this kind of rut and you can wallow, or you can just take what joy there is, take what energy that you have and put it into something that makes you feel kind of alive again. And that's what that big chorus is about. Like, you can just give up, or you can scream a really loud song and get some joy out of it. And I think that's kind of what we like to do, is turn that kind of anxiety or that depression or whatever it might be into something that you can just yell in a cathartic way.
'Cause if all it takes to shut out this noise is a kind of red stripe in the basement, and if all I need to feel like myself is a long drive to a city service station, then I guess I'm alright. It's just the darkness closing in. Just let me have this one, and then I swear I'll get a grip.
I was really struck by the very last song, which is called Until Hell Freezes Over. The very last lyric, which is with love and fury and tenderness, because that's where songs come from, as a lovely sort of finale to round up the album. And I guess that love and fury and tenderness does sound like gigs. It sounds like kind of red stripe in a basement. So I just wanted to ask how what's it been like to play those songs live with an audience and people like unpack what you're presenting and learn the lyrics, or is that still an in process as you gig around and share this love and fury and tenderness?
Yeah, so we've not actually had a chance. We've not played a gig since it came out. We played one show the week before it came out where all we did was we played 8 songs from the album with Niamh SG, and that was really nice. I think like it was really cool to me to see people that we didn't know personally never met before singing Catastrophizing and Golden Hour, which were the singles we put out. That to me, that people had learned the words to our songs in a couple of weeks or whatever was crazy. And I'm extremely excited to play some more shows in the next. We're playing in London next month. That'll be the first show we play since it came out, and yeah, I can't wait.
I was also going to ask about the scene that you gig in. Like M18, M1 Parkway seems very about like home, but well, not home as such because it's not about a place. It feels like it's more about the travel and the world around. But what's it been like gigging in South Yorkshire and finding a community and a scene? Do you feel like you've helped build that, or do you feel like you've come from that? Not that they're not intersectional.
Yeah, I think we used to, or I certainly used to have like a little bit of disdain towards South Yorkshire because it felt like all our best gigs happened in other places. Um, and it used to be that I would find it. I book all of our shows, and I used to find it a lot easier to get like better guarantees and better gigs in London or Manchester than I did in Sheffield. But I think the last couple of years we've played some like really special shows here. I put an all-dayer on for Tramlines Festival last year that we headlined, and like the venue was full from like the front of the door to the back, and like everyone was singing one of our songs, and it felt like we were home. In a way that it hasn't. So I'm really fond of Sheffield now, in a way I didn't used to be.
Yeah, I think there's definitely there's a growing kind of DIY scene and a community kind of building in the city that I think I didn't really feel like we felt that it was there when we first started out. Like I think we've been playing together since what 2018.
18, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we all felt when we first started out that Sheffield felt a bit small, a bit local, a bit cliquey. It was difficult to find kind of lineups that we felt like we fit on, venues that we felt understood kind of what we were about. And I think now that feels very different to me. I think it does feel like there's a scene forming. There are good promoters, there are good venues, and there are other bands that we love playing with. So yeah, whether we helped that to happen, it would be nice to think that we did, but it definitely feels like there has been a change since we started out.
I think the last couple of gigs that we've played in Sheffield have felt really special. So we played one just before MPF, and that was really, really nice, and like much nicer than the gigs we've. So like I joined the band slightly after it was formed, and I had never played on a stage before, anything. And the first couple of gigs we played, I was like, I hate gigging. I hate gigging. It makes me feel so anxious. Like I hate being on stage. And I think it was just the case of we played some bad gigs when I first started. And I like since then I have come around. And but yeah, the last couple of gigs that we've played in Sheffield have been really special and really lovely. And yeah, it's nice to be able to not feel so, down about your local scene. And like they said, the bands that have come out of Sheffield in the last couple of years are sick.
Well, I've just got a few more questions for you folks. I don't want to keep you too long. Something I did want to mention was for listeners, the band t-shirt that's just come out for Slash Fiction is designed by the lovely Black Lodge Press, and we did interview CJ last year, so listeners should go and listen to that episode. That's my little cheeky plug, my call to action. But I also know that you've got like a logo for Slash Fiction as well, and the artwork for the singles was similar picket line imagery. So I just wanted to ask about how you as a band, as a collective, come up with what it's a horrible term, the branding of what you're putting out into the world, and how you play with that and create that and that keeps true to the DIY ideas.
Yeah, I think so. The logo specifically, we identified like fairly early on that we wanted something like that. We wanted a symbol. We wanted, we're like friends with. I told you I would eat you. Have like a really cool. It's like a ladder going into a box, and I always loved that symbol, and I wanted something similar for us. And in our like really early days, we used the imagery of flowers, like in everything we did. Really, like our first EP was called Flowers, and we had a flower T-shirt, and when we were trying to come up with a symbol, I took the idea of a flower and thought, like, what is the simplest way you can draw a flower? And came up with the, the little triangle with the what looks like stems coming off it. I think for the imagery around this record, I think as soon as we saw that image that Dan sent us, it's all just come so easily. The specific, we met CJ at a Radical Book Fair in Sheffield earlier this year, and we had a quick chat, and it just came about so easily. Like, there was literally one draft of that t-shirt. Like, we got the email with that design on and was like, yes, perfect, thank you. I think that image was so powerful that it's really made everything around it so easy.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever really sort of had a consistent sort of brand in terms of the design of our shirts or our posters or artwork or anything like that, other than, I mean, like you said, it's very true to that DIY kind of ethos. Like the cover of our first record is a photo of a doll's house, and we bought the doll's house ourselves. We put it in our practice space and in a bunch of different places and took pictures of it until we found one that looked cool enough. Like I do a lot of our like tour posters just on Photoshop that I steal from work.
We recorded.
And, yeah.
I was going to say we recorded all of the stems for the album on Dan's work laptop.
Yeah.
Shout out to all of my employers who give me Adobe Suite stuff, because I am stealing that shit for my personal use. But yeah, it's just like if we have friends who are like illustrators or just cool artists, like, we really love just, if we want a new t-shirt or a poster, we'll be like, will you do this for us? And people will always say yes, and they'll always say that they will do it for either free or way too little money. And we just have to be like, please take what you are worth. Like, take our money.
We're always like, we'll pay you double that. I just wanted to say about the logo specifically is that I really, really love the kind of socialist idea of bread and roses as well. Like, I've always really, really identified with that. So I think having a very abstracted rose to me is a really good symbol to have for your art.
Listeners need to go and get on your search engine of choice. Go and check out Slash Fiction, and not only their music, but also the lovely iconography and images that go along with it. It's a really delightful album. Like, honestly, it's I hope this is a compliment to say it's really grown on me. Like, I listened to too much music and I just like churned through it because my brain just wants like more. and it sort of went, hold on, there's something really tangible and raw and exciting here, and I've really gone back to it a lot over the last couple of weeks. So thank you for replying to my message and making it. The last question I have for the Slash Fiction gang is, if there is a song you would like us to play on the Vandal Factory podcast that isn't your own song, because the listeners heard plenty of over the course of this, trust me. What song would you like to share with the listeners?
I would say Apathy by Tripson. We are like, it's a really like powerful, amazing song, obviously extremely relevant to what's happening at the minute in Palestine, but also they're our friends and we're playing a show with them next month and we're really looking forward to that. And if you haven't heard Tripson, you should be hearing Tripson. They're the most important band in the UK at the minute.
Pretend you're lost. Go ahead and tick a box. Show all your friends you're woke. Your fragility's a joke. You never wanted to lie. You only want to be seen by corners of the sand. their screams. Freedom all free the land, swear I see it every night in my dreams. Wake up every morning to atrocities on my screen. Another child funeral funded by your apathy. You never wanted to lie. You only wanna be seen. My daughter's off the sale. Compose yourself.
Start a band, join a union.